Okay, hey everyone, this is Vaughn and Mike at Spirit of Health. We're doing a staff training actually, and we're just talking about health general. We've just finished some training down in Florida, and we learned a lot about acid-alkaline balance, nutrition, what it actually takes to heal the human body. Learned all kinds of case studies of real stories of people healing from all kinds of various illnesses, sicknesses, diseases, and we're just really excited. We really feel the Lord's really leading us into a lot of truth related to what it takes to restore the human vessel, and we're just excited for what we've learned, and we want to implement it, and we want to share it with people. We want to share it with our staff, and we want to share it with people through videos, what we learned, so you can come into freedom, into being aligned with how God designed you to live, being free of sickness and disease, which is what God really wants of us. And our heart's really to get people off the medical system and onto God's system, and just back to the Garden of Eden. That's our cry, that's our mantra. Like, let's just get back to the garden. That's why we created the Eating by Design program. But we just want to keep going deeper with what the Lord's showing us, and so we just want to share some of this information. The first thing we're just going to talk about is just nutrition, and basically kind of like what foods we're designed to eat. God designed us. He pulled us out of dust of the earth. That's Genesis 2:7, right? The Lord God formed man out of dust of the earth. So we know we're made out of dust of the earth, dirt. And He put us in a garden. And that garden was pretty sweet. And that garden's not around much anymore, but we can find it. So we just want to talk about like how God designed us, how we're designed to eat the best nutrition for the human body. Mike's really good with that, so you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, so obviously God designed our bodies, and He designed them to function a certain way. Just like I like to give the example of a really fine car like a Ferrari or something that's got several hundred horsepower and it's a fine-tuned machine. Somebody designed it and built it a specific way, and to have a certain fuel, to get air a certain way, to remove its waste a certain way, and all of this, and certain ways that you're supposed to take care of all that and lubricate things. And they designed that. If you go and put, Coca-Cola in the gas tank instead of premium octane fuel or whatever that was designed for, it's going to be a disaster. And it's the same thing with our body. Although God created our body so amazing that we can put junk in it for a while and it not mess us up right away. So it's quite amazing that we can handle the amount of junk that we put in that we're not designed for. Mm-hmm. But yeah, God is calling us back to understanding how He created us. And He did put us in a garden, and He told us to eat the things that bear seeds. Mm-hmm. The fruit that has the seed within. Talks a lot about the trees. And I think about the power that a fruit can probably have, or something coming off of a tree. It's got this huge tree and all these leaves and sucking up the sun, and this huge root system that goes as deep or deeper than the branches do. Yep. And how much nutrition that's soaking up, and all to bear this fruit. Yep. And that's what He gave us in the garden to eat. So and the herbs. Mm-hmm. So quite amazing that how He designed us, and it's very simple too, but understanding that is very powerful. We want to, in our own wisdom, man's wisdom, try to create new things, and I think that's a big problem with the destruction and how we get off. We think that we can do things better than God.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at just, if you went to the grocery store and bought a bunch of food, and you bought fruits and vegetables and looked at it, and you bought all this stuff, boxed, packaged, canned, processed stuff, and you just simply said, what did God make? It's pretty obvious that, we should eat the things that God made. And, that's our motto for the health fair coming up for the kiddos. It's eat it the way God made it. And it does sound so simple. The problem is we just don't do it. Part of it's culture, part of it's emotional struggles, comfort eating, those kind of things. Part of it's just our own cravings and our desires and the things we like. But the true reality that people need to understand, if you would get back to the garden and get back to eating fruits and vegetables and healing foods, we don't have to have all the sickness and disease we have to do. So much of it is unnecessary and unneeded, and it's just we've strayed so far into man's way, to man's creations. So we really just need to get back to the garden.
Yeah. And if you just look at how we're designed, with our hands and limbs and everything, and you look at different animals. Of course, we're not animals, we're different, but we most closely resemble, or the primates are most closest to the way we are. And I'm not a scientist, but I've seen people study the different digestive systems and the teeth and like you name it, from having claws. And so, the carnivores are the ones with the big teeth and the sharp claws and the short digestive tract. It has to get that meat in and out quick, or it will putrefy and cause lots of issues in the body. Our system is a lot longer. And then you have the herbivores that are primarily plant eaters, vegetables and grasses and this stuff, and they have several stomachs and a really long system. They need a lot of digestion to break that hard cellulose down. So we most closely fit into the frugivore category, where we can grab and pick and eat. Very simple. And so people understanding like what we truly are and getting back to that, and again, partnering with God and how He designed us.
Mm-hmm. And I would just add to that like, yeah, I do believe, Garden of Eden, fruits, that was the primary food, things from seed, fruits, nuts, seeds. It was after sin, it was after the fall that we started eating other things. It was after the fall that God said it was okay to eat meat, like with Noah. And again, we don't make this about like eating a perfect diet, because our focus is on the Lord and where He's leading us, but we want to share with people what's best and ideal for the human body. But what's interesting about meat is even when God allowed eating meat, He was very specific on what animals you should and shouldn't eat.
Right.
If you notice, every animal God said, do not eat, was any animal that ate flesh. Isn't that interesting? You're not supposed to eat eagles or vultures or lions or jackals or hyenas or all these even pigs.
Yeah.
He calls it abomination. It's abominable flesh to me, because pigs will eat other animals. And so all the animals that eat meat, He says do not eat. And why? It's because meat putrefies in the human body. They're meant to clean up the earth and clean up the dead things of the earth. And so again, we don't advocate, where you're at as far as eating meat or not. We know most people do, but understand that if you're trying to heal yourself or you want to be optimal health, like there's a reason God said not to eat these animals that eat meat. The animals that God said are clean that you should eat are only animals that basically eat grasses and leaves off of trees. Why? Because their system's clean and it's healthier. So I think that's logical. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to share about diet, and then I was going to let Mike talk a little bit about acid alkaline, because I think that's a really crucial point. But one thing I've really been sharing with people is there's a difference between a healthy diet and a healing diet. And I think it's important to understand that, because as a culture, we're so far gone that people, like, it's a huge step just to eat what we think is a healthy diet. Now, what that is in our minds, oh my gosh, everybody's got a million different ideas, right? But a healthy diet, like, we're not eating Twizzlers and Doritos and donuts. That's a great start. But everybody's got such an opinion on what a healthy diet is. And we always say eating by design, getting back to the Garden of Eden, Genesis 1:29, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, lean meats that God said are clean, chicken, turkey, fish, stuff like that. I think that can be a healthy diet for most people, and it has been throughout history. However, I want to share this. If you have debilitating sickness, if you're chronically ill, if you got major digestive issues, if your kid's autistic, if you've been diagnosed with cancer or any disease at all, I really want people to understand that just going to a clean, healthy diet of eating whole grain Ezekiel bread and eating clean meat, and maybe you're doing raw dairy and not processed dairy, I'm a very firm believer that that's not a healing diet. That's not going to get sick people well. And we want to think that people just they get sick and they just transition off the standard American diet to a cleaner diet. That's a good start, but it's not going to heal you. It's not a healing diet. Now, do you want to eat a healthy diet that can just help you a little bit and feel better, or do you want to eat a healing diet to actually reverse sickness and disease and completely get back to your original design by removing toxins and waste and sickness and disease out of the human body? And even if you're in relatively good health, do you want to eat the diet that actually restores the worst of the chronically ill back to health? Or do you just want to eat a so-so, what we would consider a healthy diet? Just just things to think about. But I've just really been encouraging people that you can switch off the standard American diet to a healthy diet, and that's okay. But if you want a healing diet, and there's a lot of people, and I'd say most people out there need more of a healing diet than they need to just eat a healthy diet. And so we need to learn what that means. And part of that is just, I think that leads right into, I'd love Mike to share about just the importance of acid-alkaline balance and what we're doing to our bodies, you know, through the acidification, the process of acidosis that's leading to most of this sickness and disease. So,
right, I know we're not trying to maintain, or a lot of people aren't needing to maintain where they're at. They need to reverse everything that they've done. And we're going to talk about that later, getting into the root causes of disease with basically obstructions, you know, toxicity, mucus, acids build up in the system, and you have to go and undo everything that you've done in your life. And so
generations before.
And generations before, yeah.
Because kids are being born sick and toxic and acidic.
Yeah, born very compromised already. So yeah, acid alkaline is a very important topic to understand because our bodies are supposed to maintain a perfect homeostasis. You know, and when we're eating the foods that God gave us, the body maintains that homeostasis very well. Even the blood has to maintain a specific pH. And if a lot of people don't know what acid alkaline means, or the pH scale, it goes from 0 to 14. 7 being neutral. The higher the number, the more alkaline. The lower the number, more acidic. So the blood has to maintain a slightly alkaline pH. And literally, if it changes too much, you'll die. And so the body does everything it has to do to maintain that homeostasis. It will pull your calcium out of your bones to balance the blood, to alkalize the blood. And it does that with a lot of people, and that's a lot of the cause of osteoporosis, and that is an acidic body. So not to go down a whole road, but the body will do everything it has to do to maintain that pH in the blood. But the whole system needs to be in a slightly alkaline state. That's the way God designed us. And the things that are more alkaline forming are the fruits and the veggies and the herbs, and things that are generally more acidic are the more dense things like nuts and seeds, meat, dairy, grains. And it's okay to have some of that in moderation. It's about balance, but we're supposed to be more alkaline than we are acid. And so many people have constantly put in these acid-forming foods in their bodies, and acids break down things. You know, you think of if anybody's ever worked on cars and batteries and got a little battery acid on your clothes, it'll eat a hole in them. If it puts on your hand, it will burn you. And you get too hot, and it'll, with chemotherapy and stuff, so if they drip a little chemotherapy on the hand, bad burns and stuff. This is high acidic stuff. And why you would want to put that in the human body, I don't know. But again, we won't go down that road. But so acids break things down. You talk about inflammation. They cause inflammation. They cause, I guess another good point too is cancer, bacteria, viruses. All these things thrive in an acidic environment. In an alkaline environment, blood flows easier. Those things don't. You know, I think a guy a long time ago proved that cancer can't exist in an alkaline environment. So anyway, how do we maintain that balance, and how do we reverse what we've done? Because acids can get really bad, and they will chew up tissues. I mean, we saw pictures of women's breasts that had breast cancer and stuff, and the acids that are forming there and can't go anywhere, so destructive that it will start breaking down that tissue right there. And it's sad. We need, you know, our bodies are made to get those out of the system. But again, if we don't overload the system and we have the right things that are going to help flush that out. So,
can I share something?
Yeah.
Dr. Morse, when we were at our training, shared something that really struck me, that really gave a good understanding of sickness and disease. And I've said for years that, like, we have to trust God and trust the way He designed the human body. And everything that happens for the human body is supposed to happen because God designed it. So if the body's having an autoimmune reaction, it's supposed to be doing that. If the body has a tumor, it's supposed to be doing that. If the body gets cancer, it's supposed to be doing that. It's all sickness and disease. There's an old adage that says the disease is the cure. It's not really a sickness and disease. It's God's good design of the body, and these are manifestations of a good designer trying to keep us healthy even with the onslaught of toxins and poisons we're throwing at the body. People don't understand that tumors and cysts and fibroids are good things, protecting your body from acid waste and toxins and waste that are in your body. And we see this as disease. And so one thing he pointed out that really struck me is all these things that are happening that we say are these horrible things are the processes of the body trying to overcome acidity. Okay? So when the body's overly acidic, the body produces cholesterol and builds up cholesterol, because cholesterol is actually a healer of the human body. So the buildup of cholesterol is a result of the onslaught of acidity in the body. The calcium being pulled out of the bones and collecting in the tissues and causing bone spurs and heel spurs and all these calcification issues is an attempt to fight acidity in the body, because calcium is so alkaline. So all of these processes that are happening to bodies with the high cholesterol, the calcification, again, the cysts, the tumors, is all the body's attempt to fight acidity, because God is actually a really smart designer. We just don't understand the human body. We don't understand the processes of what's happening in the body. So I just wanted to share that, because I thought that was a huge revelation.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. The tumor is your body trying to make sure that you don't die from those acids. It's putting them in a spot. But reversing that and getting it out of the system is a whole different thing. So acid alkaline, and I think another important thing, because this is like one of the most foundational things for health and healing, is understanding it's about acid or alkaline forming foods. So your body consumes it, and then what's left over, the reaction it has on your body is what we mean by that. So acid forming, alkaline forming. A good example of that is lemon. So lemon by itself is acidic, but when your body processes it, it leaves a very alkaline reaction. It's one of the most alkalizing things to your body, is lemon. So basically, the more fruits and veggies, the more alkaline, there's things that are higher on that list, like wheatgrass, lemons, some of the berries, citrus. These are all very alkaline things, watermelon. And we have to stop putting the acidic forming foods in our body, or at least significantly reduce them. And in serious cases, cut them all the way. Yeah.
And it's like what Mike kind of alluded to, like the root causes of sickness and disease being obstructions. And we believe that. We believe the temple that God created in his image is holy. And so when you have mercury, heavy metals, parasites, acid waste building up, chemical toxicity, like all these herbicides and pesticides, these are all things polluting the holy temple of God. And so the result, we call sickness and disease, but really the result is the body's attempt to manifest and remove these toxins and poisons out of the body. I mean, it's amazing. So at the root cause of sickness and disease, mucus forming. Again, that's another natural process of the body to protect itself and remove toxins and waste. So we got to get to the root cause of sickness and disease, which is obstructions, and we got to learn how to cleanse it. So Mike's talking a lot about the fruits, the veggies, the acid alkaline balance, but it's those foods not just alkalizing the body, it's cleansing the body.
Yeah.
And there's certain foods that are better cleansers than others. So like if you need to clean stuff at your house, like your windows, and you want a natural cleaner, you don't get a carrot juice cleaner, you get a lemon cleaner, right? Because the lemon, breaks things down and it cleanses. And so that's why lemon's such a powerful cleanser. And we have to stop putting foods in our bodies that obstruct the human body. Okay, dairy obstructs the human body because it's designed for a ginormous animal, not a human being, right? So it's obstructing. It's heavy, the fats, the proteins, our bodies are already congested. And so we're putting these heavy foods in the human body, these acidic foods in the human body that are blocking up the human body. And so not only do we need to alkalize the body, but we need to cleanse it. We need to cleanse and remove the obstructions and the poisons. So I think we should talk about, if you want to go through this a little bit, but just kind of talking to people about like the different options they can do for a healing diet and kind of the different levels you can get to.
Yeah. We have a nice little handout that has a couple different levels of detoxing, cleansing diets that are recommended. And again, the more you can go on the fruits and the herbs and veggies, the better. And the more raw, the better. Because it's going to have everything the way God designed it. Right. I don't think they were cooking things in the garden. He designed them to be eat just the way he created them. Yeah. So like a moderately cleansing diet, to some people, this is going to sound like pretty extreme, but this is somebody that really wants to start getting a hold of their health. This is a great way to start, and we always recommend starting with fruit. Fruit is It's hydrating, it's cleansing, it's energizing. It takes very little digestion. So fruit is some of the most cleansing, that's the food group that has the astringents, the things to break things down and move things in the body. So starting with fruit always in the morning, maybe having some fruit or even a green juice in between lunch, maybe a salad, a nice big green salad with a variety of veggies on there. Another snack of fruit or veggie juice. And then a dinner could be some steamed cooked veggies, soup, stuff like that. And basically you can start taking this diet up, the detoxification up, by continuing to cut out the cooked stuff and adding in more raw and even cutting the veggies out. So level 3, the most detoxing, is basically, it's all fruits and fruit juice. So maybe a little salad in the evening. That's a very detoxing, cleansing diet. And if you're in a serious situation, some people might think that's extreme, but what I think is extreme is having to go to the doctor and getting cut open and chest ripped open, or chemotherapy put in your body that's very acidic and very harmful. It makes your hair fall out, it kills all your cells, and doesn't even cure the root problem. So to commit to something like this and partnering back with God, I mean, it's powerful.
Yeah, amen. And I just want to share too that, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about fruit, and I think it's important to spend a few minutes on that, because this is coming from a guy who's for 10 years been studying health. And I don't know, honey, how long have I been, scared of fruit? As part of our journey, we've all heard about fruit and it's too much sugar and it's bad, and I'm back and forth, and it feeds cancer and it feeds infections in the body, and the sugar is too much and it'll destroy your body. And I mean, I'll have to say, having gone through this journey and having literally been scared of or not eaten fruit for, I would say, years. I mean, I probably went easily 3-4 years with barely touching fruit. I will have to say, through this journey, through what the Lord showed me and through what I've learned, even though you'll find a lot of contrary information out there, I believe it's all pretty much a myth. And it's not just the fact that eating fruit is bad and that's a myth. It's that it just depends on the situation, the other things that people are doing, what other foods you're eating with the fruit. I mean, there's a lot of nuances to it. But let me just say, and I've done blogs and I've talked about this a little bit, but there's a difference between fruit sugar and other sugars. All the complex sugars are totally different. You need insulin to process grains and complex sugars. It's very acidic and it's hard on the kidneys. It's way harder on digestion, and it's just harder on the body overall. And fruits don't. Fruits are easy cleansing on the body. They're alkalizing. They do not require insulin. A lot of people don't know that. Diabetics are scared of fruit. Diabetics should not be scared of fruit. I'm not saying you sit around and drink fruit juices and eat bananas all day, but I'm saying you eat fruit in the right way, in moderation, and it doesn't require insulin. It's not going to further damage your pancreas. Is it going to affect your blood sugars? Of course it is. It's fruit sugar. You're supposed to have sugar in the human body. Every cell of the body needs sugar. The brain needs sugar. They say, 60-70% of the sugar in the body is used by the brain. And your brain's not going to work very well if you stop eating fruit or those kind of things. So anyway, I've come a long way, I feel like, in my journey and my understanding of fruit and fruit sugars. I don't believe it feeds cancer. I don't believe it's bad for infectious issues. In fact, I feel like it's very healing and cleansing for those issues. But you have to do it right.
Yeah.
There's different ways to eat fruit. You should eat it alone. You should eat it on an empty stomach. There's different nuances to how you combine fruit. You should be part of a comprehensive program. You should be exercising. You should be taking herbs and different things to cleanse and flush the system and maybe to kill infections and parasites. So that's the thing. People just don't know how to do it right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that are scared of fruit, just their body's already sick and they're not doing it right, and it can be a problem if you don't do it right. But there's ways to do it right.
Yeah. So it's important if you have issues and you want to start this journey to work with somebody that knows what they're doing and they can deal with your situation and walk you through the process of how to do it the proper way.
Amen. So do you want to talk about this real quick, or?
Yeah, and we've got another cool handout just talking about the levels of diet related to detoxification, because you can detox just on a raw food diet, a well balanced, including avocados and nuts and seeds and veggies and fruits, and you're going to detox for sure.
Yeah.
Anybody who wants to start detoxing, that's a great place to start. But if you really need to kick up, or if you have some more serious issues going on, you may need to kick up the intensity of things. And so going step by step from just a balanced raw food diet into the more fruit. The fruits, again, have more astringents, more cleansing power. They're going to kick up the detoxification.
Tell them which ones are astringents.
Which ones are astringents? So some of the most astringent ones are going to be grapes, lemons, citrus. And then I would say next would be stuff like apples, watermelon. These are going to be very, very cleansing. So yeah, if you want to kick up just from fruits to another level, it would be sticking with those very astringent, especially the lemons and the grapes. Those are powerful. And there's books out there that talk about for a long time of the grape cure and lemon juice fasting. And because these are some of nature's best, the things that God's given us to cleanse and purge the body very quickly. Yep. And even from there, it would go up into fasting. Juice fasting, water fasting would be even another level. And then the most detoxing, which you need to have caution on, but it is powerful, is dry fasting. That's not having anything. And you can start with doing short periods of that, but there's people that built up into doing longer. It's basically not consuming anything and allowing the body, the way God designed it, to heal itself. Yeah. Taking all of the energy away from having to process food, having to digest, all of this, and just strictly heal. You look at animals, and when they get sick, what do? They go somewhere, they lay down, they don't eat, they don't drink, yep. They don't do anything until they feel better. Yep. So fasting's powerful, but again, knowing how to do it right. But yeah, working your way up this pyramid can increase, and along with using herbs. Herbs are powerful. We were talking about the scripture in Ezekiel. Yeah. Which one is that?
47:12.
So basically talking about the food from the trees being our food, the fruits, and the leaves and the herbs being for our healing. So, the herbs are powerful. And a lot of these herbs that we use and stuff, they're non-hybrid vegetables. They basically, in my opinion, they carry some of the original intent that God created. So many of today's vegetables and different things have been hybridized, they've been created. I mean, the carrot, you name it, all these things are not what they used to be when God originally designed them. But a lot of these herbs haven't been tampered with as much, and they still carry that original power that I believe God created, and that's why they're so powerful. So there's herbs for cleansing all sorts of different things.
So I literally feel like the Lord just dropped revelation in my spirit. So I'm going to share it right here on camera. It's pretty cool. Okay. So when the disciples asked Jesus, how do we pray? And what did Jesus say? He said, "Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." Right? On earth as it is in heaven. What was happening in Ezekiel 47? The angel was showing Ezekiel what things were like in heaven. He showed him the fruit being the food and the leaves being the medicine in heaven. And Jesus said that we're supposed to bring heaven to earth. So that's it. It's right there. It's right there in Scripture. All the amazing experiences that the prophets and different people had in heaven is what we're supposed to manifest and bring to earth. So we need to start embracing this. We need to start doing what's happening in heaven, which is using the trees and the things God gave us and eating fruit and using herbs and leaves and these different powerful things for medicine. And I think we're going to be set free from a lot of sickness and disease. But I also think it's unto fullness in Christ. It's unto the restoration of the bride. It's unto the second coming. I get pumped up about this stuff, man. But thank you, Lord. I just felt like that was a huge revelation, so I just thought I'd share it.
Yeah, that's cool. Good.
Yeah. So, anyway.
So the diet is the foundation, what you put in your body. And I want to say this because I'm going to maybe talk about a little bit of the emotional stuff later. But so we're a product, our body or whatever you want to call it, we're a product of what we eat, what we drink, what we breathe, what we put on our skin, because that absorbs into your body too, and also our thoughts, our emotions, and our beliefs. This is all what's going to create health. And we're body, soul, and spirit, and we're supposed to partner all of that with the Lord. And so all of that is creating, reality in our bodies today. So the foundation is the diet, but kind of feel like talking a little bit about how the body works.
Yeah.
And understanding, because the diet is key, but understanding certain things and how the body gets rid of these acids and how God designed us to process things. And talking about the endocrine glands and stuff like that.
Why don't you get into the 4 main processes, but first I'll just give people a real easy example, which I've done in classes before. Okay? You have a deer, you have a moose, you have an antelope. They're out there eating what God designed, and they do pretty good. They do pretty good as long as there's not man-made interference. Outside of that, they die of old age. They don't get Alzheimer's, cancer, diabetes, right? Animals in nature don't. You take an animal out of his natural environment and put him in a zoo, you better be real careful in particular about how you take care of that animal, or you feed it or it'll die. Or you take our beloved cats and dogs and we kill them. We give them the same diseases we get because we feed them junk. You know how they say don't feed animals like man-made food? What does that say about man-made food?
Because they'll get the same diseases that man has.
Yeah. So why are people's dogs getting tumors and getting diabetes and getting cancer? The same afflictions that afflict man are afflicting the animals that we take care of, because we do not take care of things based off of God's design. And I think that leads right into this, the processes of how the human body works. You know, what we're doing to ourselves and to animals and to our children, our poor innocent children, what we're doing to our children is contrary to the processes of how God designed the body to work.
Yeah. One last thing on that point is, just so everybody knows, there's cultures still today that still follow their indigenous cultures, pretty much cut off from major society, that are living the way they have for hundreds, thousands of years, living off the land. They're living into their hundreds regularly. That's just a normal thing, climbing up and down the mountain every day. No cancer, no heart disease, none of that. That's possible. And maybe a lot more too.
Yeah.
We don't even know what's possible with really partnering with the Lord with everything, but there's still cultures that are doing that and staying active and don't have this disease.
Yep.
So, so the 4 processes that the body has to go through to maintain health. It starts with digestion. So again, what we're eating, but it starts in the mouth. So as you're chewing things, so many people and myself, I've had to catch myself chewing things down really quickly, and we were designed to chew things very well. That's the first part of digestion. It ease the digestion that happens in the stomach and the bowels, but also there's enzymes that your mouth starts to create for initial breakdown of carbohydrates. So that's the first step, and then it goes into the stomach. A lot of people think that the stomach is the main digester, or that hydrochloric acid is, and that is a big thing, but it's mainly for proteins. So where a lot of the digestive power comes, like I said, it starts with our mouth, but the pancreas ends up secreting a lot of these digestive enzymes for carbohydrate production. Of course, the gallbladder secretes bile for fats, and the stomach secretes hydrochloric acid for proteins. But it's important to also have the right food combinations. But it's crazy. This is step number 1. It's how many people fail just with this step: not eating the right foods, not chewing it properly, not eating the right combination of things, or having weak digestive processes.
We have an epidemic of digestive issues. There's no doubt about that.
And if you fail on step number 1, you don't even get to the rest of the steps, and your cells can't get what they need properly, and you're already starting to have more congestion and waste and everything accumulate in the body. But so combining foods properly is important. Maybe should I talk about that more later?
Yeah, I mean, you could say
so it's important. The 2 main things are, or just so you understand, like when you're consuming a big, huge, very complicated meal, the body is like, oh my gosh, I got to figure out what to secrete, and it's overwhelming things. And you start secreting, alkaline secretions, acid secretions, all this, it can cancel each other out, and things now get broken down properly. And that's acid reflux. That's, you can name a bunch of things that can cause irritable bowels. But when you eat things properly, the body can recognize what it is. We're supposed to eat simplistic. Yeah. The body can recognize, I know what that is. That's an apple. I'll secrete this and break it down, and it can break it down properly so that the body can actually use that nutrition the way it was designed.
But when you got an apple pie, right?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, it's a good point.
People think eating that stuff, is okay, and maybe once in a while it is, but like you're talking apples, sugar, dairy, I mean, there's such a combination of things. The body doesn't know how to digest that.
Yeah.
And we do that every day. Yeah.
So some of the basic points to food combining is don't combine a protein and a starch. So this is like what every American does. Hamburger with a bun, steak and potatoes. So this is a bad food combination because the steak and the meat needs an acid secretion and the starch needs an alkaline secretion. So you combine them together, and gosh, I remember in the days where I used to eat that way at night, and I would wake up and sometimes still be able to taste my food because the stuff can't get broken down. And then that can cause acid reflux and then again, all the issues. So another big thing is basically to have fruit by itself, but especially do not combine fruit and meat because the fruit wants to digest quickly, the meat needs a lot of time, and the fruit will end up fermenting and causing a lot of issues. So those are the main things. We have a handout too, and we can maybe touch on that a little bit more. So digestion is number one. Number two is absorption. So once your body takes all this complex stuff and breaks it down, it has to be able to absorb that. So, and that happens in the small intestines. You hope if your intestines are clear enough, but a lot of people have malabsorption because they've eaten bad foods. They've eaten a bunch of processed foods and junk that's gummed up the lining of their small intestine, and they can't even absorb that food properly. So it has to be able to absorb through the villi and all the technical things in there. I don't know everything, but into the bloodstream. And that's how it gets circulated through the body to where it's going. Do you want to cover the other two?
Sure. So digestion, absorption, and then you got, utilization. And so obviously the body's supposed to utilize nutrients for energy and for health and for cells and for all that. And again, it's not able to because you didn't digest it properly in the first place. You missed step one, so step two can't happen. And now step three, utilization is poor just because we have undigested food that the body can't utilize. I mean, I think the biggest obvious example of this is the food allergies and the food sensitivities, which is like a chronic epidemic. If you look at autoimmune diseases and eczema and skin conditions, this is the improper utilization of what we're eating because this stuff has caused a damaged body, a leaky gut, undigested protein molecules are getting out into the system. It's causing immune system responses. So instead of the body utilizing foods and nutrition properly, our body's actually fighting itself because all this undigested, unprocessed food is entering the body, wreaking havoc on the system. Okay, so this is a big deal. So this is why you have to not only eat right and digest your food right, but you have to heal the body, you have to heal the gut so your body can utilize nutrients properly. So you think malabsorption, so many people are chronically ill or excessively thin, because again, they're not utilizing nutrients. And so they're eating like heavy foods and fats and proteins trying to gain weight or keep weight on or whatever, and their body's already broken, it's not utilizing nutrients properly, and you're just adding to the load. And people are getting sicker and people aren't getting well. So I think this is a big deal. And so when you eat fruits and really simple foods, even if you're chronically ill, like if you just eat simple foods like grapes, you actually can utilize the nutrients from those. And so that's a huge step. And then the last one, elimination. I mean, oh my gosh, that's why people are sick. Is improper elimination.
Last mention on utilization is the endocrine glands also secrete certain hormones and different things that are necessary for the utilization of some vitamins and minerals and stuff. So we'll talk more about the endocrine glands, but that's another piece of the endocrine glands could be weak and causing, even if you're able to get the stuff in the bloodstream, can't get them to the cells properly because they don't have the proper secretions.
Totally. So elimination, and I would say elimination, I mean, not that they're not all important, but I'd say elimination is the most important. It's about detoxification. If people are sick and you want to get them well, they got to detox. It's the accumulated waste in the human body that's causing all of what we call sickness and disease. These thousands and thousands of names doctors have made up to describe diseases is all the issue of improper elimination of the human body resulting in symptomatic issues happening in the human body. And all they do is name it based off a description of the person suffering or somebody's name who had it or a doctor who discovered it. Okay, that tells people nothing about how to heal their bodies. And the medical system is atrocious at helping the people heal the body. They're great at emergencies. but really bad at helping sick people get well. And so elimination is key. And all throughout human history, people knew elimination was well. Every ancient healer knew that elimination was important. Enemas and saunas and all different herbs and all kinds of different things to detox the body were normal all throughout human history in every culture to keep people well. It's only westernized culture of the 21st century that has lost their way in understanding how crucial elimination is. And in fact, our medical system actually jokes and laughs about cleansing and detoxification. In fact, the things that actually get people well is like a joke to the medical community. And I'm not saying it's not changing, and I'm not saying it's everybody, and I think there's some awareness happening, but elimination is key. And so people, if they want to get well, they have to start eliminating toxins and waste out of the human body. And that's when people start to get well. I know not everybody's a fan of cleansing, or there's fear of it, and certainly not everybody wants to do an enema, or it's weird to them or whatever, but it's amazing how people's lives change when they start to cleanse. And they feel younger, and they feel lighter, and oh my gosh, my brain's working again, and I feel like I'm 20 years younger. And I mean, we've heard those stories like hundreds of times, over and over and over and over again. And it's because people need to eliminate. And the other issue I just want to mention on elimination is people think that they're okay just because maybe they go to the bathroom every day. Now, there's chronic constipation. You're certainly not okay with that. But there's people that go to the bathroom every day that think they're okay. And like, it's kind of a joke to us, you know, because like we know so much that how far from the truth that is, that people are congested, they're toxic, they're acidic, joint pain, all these headaches, all this stuff is all from the accumulation toxic waste in the body that can't get out. The body can't eliminate it. I mean, you can only eliminate toxins through stool and urine. So all of these sufferings that people are having, if they want to stop suffering, that waste has to come out through those things. It has to come out through stool or through urine. You're going to get some out through the skin as well, which all skin conditions is just the body trying to heal and detox and eliminate waste out of the skin. You know, and so elimination is super duper huge. It's everything when it comes to healing the human body. And we really got to get back to understanding cleansing, detox, proper elimination, helping the body to eliminate sickness and disease. I mean, how crazy is the medical system that the drugs suppress the natural function of the human body? That people buy over-the-counter the stuff to stop mucus production in their body. They take inhalers and steroids to stop the steroidal response. I mean, it's so contrary to God's design and what the body's trying to do to heal itself. Especially asthma and people doing inhalers to stop the lungs from naturally trying to eliminate toxins and waste. What they're doing, for the most part, is suppressing the natural function of how God designed the human body to work. And so what we're doing is we're partnering with God's processes. We're partnering with the natural attempt of the body to eliminate waste, which is what brings health, which is what brings freedom, which eliminates sickness and disease. And that's what we need to do. We need to learn how to partner with the elimination process of the human body.
Yeah, understand why your body is going through something. So we're all about getting to the root of things, and it is these eliminations of stuff that have built up, you know, already from a baby. You know, you inherit the lymphatic system and the congestion of your mom, and then everything else you put in your body. And I know myself, I put a lot of junk in my body over the years, and it takes a little bit to get that out, and it can be a little uncomfortable, but man, how much better it is when you do. And so everybody thinks about digestive waste when you think about elimination, and that is, a lot of people talk about disease starts in the colon, and it's a huge chamber that, of course, if we're not digesting and processing our foods right or eating the right things, you get really congested in your stomach and bowels. But how much bigger is also the cellular waste? A lot of people don't think about this, but we have 100 trillion cells, roughly, that's what they say, and each of those cells eats and poops, you know, eliminates on their own too, and that goes somewhere, and that goes into your lymphatic system. That's the sewer system, the elimination of the cells. And there's way more lymphatic fluid than there is blood in our body. They say 3/4 of the fluid is lymph fluid, and 1/4 is blood. It's this huge elimination system, sewer system of the body, and also one of the main immune centers of the body. And so those cells have to be able to get rid of their waste. And what happens a lot is it gets congested, and then the cells are sitting in their own feces, basically. And it's a great environment to harbor bacteria and all these microbes, and that cell is sitting in its own acids, sitting in its own waste. And I mean, you guys have a kid. What happens if you don't change the diaper right away?
Bad news.
Gets a big rash, starts causing issues. Yeah, well, that's what's happening in our body on the cells. Those cells are bathing in their own waste and bathing in their own acids, and that's an issue. So yeah, we have to learn how to eliminate. So through the bowels, through the urine, you said it was the other main thing, because the lymphatic system, one of the main areas the lymphatic system eliminates is through the kidneys. So we're always talking about kidneys too, along with colon, because that's how important. They're two little things that sit in your, in your back, your middle of your back, but they're filtering the blood and they're filtering out the lymphatic fluid. And so many people's kidneys are damaged and having issues and aren't able to filter that out, and then that's causing the whole lymphatic system to get backed up.
Yeah. The example I give people is just an analogy, because I think if you see it in your head, it makes sense. But like, we have homes and we have pipes and we have an elimination system in our homes, right? And we don't want that to back up. We don't want that to not work. We don't want the pipes to back up. But there's also a main line that accumulates all the waste from all the homes that leaves the neighborhood, right? So if that main line gets backed up, that's bad news. That's bad news for the whole neighborhood and for every home in that neighborhood. And that's happened in neighborhoods before where a pipe's broke. If a little pipe breaks in your house, you can unclog that pipe. But if that main log clogs up, man, you're in trouble. And so look at the colon and look at the kidneys as like those main sewer lines leaving the neighborhood. And what happens is people's kidneys are blocked up and people's colons are backed up, and the whole neighborhood's getting backed up. Why do we got the chronic headaches? Why do people have sinus infections for years and years and years and years, and they battle it and they do antibiotics and they're fighting it, and they're every weather change, they're all allergies, all this stuff that we're fighting is because of a backed up system. And nobody teaches us this stuff.
And your body's trying to purge it however it can. Yeah, all those symptoms. And when we catch a cold, that's the body trying to heal. It's trying to purge.
Yep. I want to share one too. I just want to mention iridology, because it's such an important part of what we do and what we can see. And I show it to people all the time in their eyes. Like, people have a blue eye, but around the pupil is the stomach and the intestines. And people have a blue eye, but the whole area around their stomach and intestines is dark brown. And it's that dark brown is starting to kind of almost like it leak out into the rest of the body. And so it's kind of like what you said, a lot of disease starts in the colon with people. So you can see their colon is a congested, stagnant wasteland. And all that waste is backing up and starting to affect the rest of their body. And you can see it so clearly in the eye. And I had a person just the other day that I was showing them this, and they were the person that goes to the bathroom once or twice a day, and they couldn't believe that possibly their colon could be backed up or toxic or sick or whatever. And I'm like, you can believe it or not, but like, it's right here. I can show it to you in your eye. Because here's a blue eye that doesn't have that. It's all blue. They might have some white in there and some acidity and some different things going on. But man, you see the chronic, dark, brown, stagnant digestive tract, boom, like it's right in your face. You can see it. Like, I love how God gave us a tool. Do we not think God would give us an instrument to see inside the human body and what's going on, to see what we need to do? We think we need all these man-made machines and diagnostic stuff to figure out what's going on with the body. Like, God gave us tools for this. So I just wanted to mention the iridology piece, because it's really cool, what you can see in the eye.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I might talk a little bit more about that when I get to the emotions too.
Sweet. Did you want to talk any bit more about the lymph? Do you think we handled the lymph pretty good? Or do we want to go into the Fab Four?
I mean, a little bit more with the lymph, because everybody always seems to want to know what's, we talked about the root cause of disease being obstructions, congestion, mucus, acidity, all this. So, we get it all the time with somebody with thyroid issues, that they have this issue or that issue in this area and that area, and they want to take something specifically for that. Right. But you got to think the 4 processes I just talked about: digestion, absorption, elimination, utilization, and elimination. The body has to go through all those. So you can take something for your thyroid, but what a lot of people don't think about is the congestion. You have to get the congestion out. So you got to get to the root. You got to remove the obstructions. You have to cleanse out so that the body can even be able to use that stuff properly. You can nourish the glands, and sure, that's great and necessary too, but the root of it, the bigger thing, is those obstructions. That's the big thing. And that kind of segues right into talking a little bit about parasites. I want to mention a little bit about that because everybody freaks out about parasites, or you hear a bug and the medical community wants to go after this, and it's all about killing that and killing everything in the body. And it's like, we have more bacteria in and on our body than we do cells of our body. It's actually necessary for us to live. God created parasites and bacteria and viruses, and he created them for a specific purpose. And they all have their purpose, and there's good bacteria and bad bacteria. We need to have the right balance of stuff. But, you know, this world would not exist if there wasn't bacteria and microbes. You know, an animal dies in the wild, and bacteria shows up right away to start breaking down dead or diseased tissue to eliminate it. And that's what it's doing in our body. There's bacteria to break down that waste. And that's the reason that the bacteria is in our body, or at least the bad bacteria. I mean, there's good bacteria for that reason too. We have the right bacteria to break down and help produce certain vitamins and nutrients from the proper food that we eat. And then you have the bad bacteria that are trying to break down the waste and mucus and acidity and congestion. So you can go and kill it all you want in the medical community, killing the bad bacteria and killing all of the good bacteria while they're going after it. That's just causing way more issues. You have to remove the root cause, which is the congestion. Remove the environment. It's like a house. Or go ahead.
Well, I was just going to mention a little bit deeper understanding of that is Dr. Robert O. Young, and there's Antoine Beauchamp back in the day. These guys learned, the term is pleomorphism, if you kind of want to nerd out and Google it or something, but pleomorphism is this concept that bacteria change based on their environment. So, you know, we talk about good bacteria and bad bacteria. It's not really like that. It's really the fact that all these trillions of bacteria in our body, we're alive, so good bacteria is helping us. When we die, the body knows that we're dead, and when the life is out of the body, those quote-unquote good bacteria in our body actually morph and change into organisms that eat away and remove and break the body back down. That's the process of nature and how God designed it. That's what happens in these animals. Yeah, I mean, there might be weird critters and flies and stuff that get to that animal, and the vultures like we talked about, but there's also bacteria within animals and within the human body that morph and change into organisms that are designed to break down that dead animal. So here's the sick part, or the crazy part, or the nasty part nobody wants to talk about. That's what's happening in the human body. When your gallbladder is a diseased waste mess that has to be cut out, it's because this process has been happening even though you're still alive. Your diet and the things that you've done to your body are so poor, and it's created such an acidic, toxic waste environment. These different parts of the body getting cancer and getting these different diseases is actually these organisms in a sick, unhealthy environment, and that part of your body actually turning into what we call disease-causing organisms. But here's the good thing. God's a good designer, okay? And God designed the body to have life and restoration flow back into the human body. So if you stop the toxic stuff and you start to put the life of God, I mean, John G. Lake said it perfectly. Healing is so simple. It's just putting the life and the power of God back into a person. Okay, and he was a power healer. He wasn't like all into nutrition. But it's putting the good things of God back into the human body. So if you get back to fruits and a raw diet and back to restoring life in the body, those what we would call an infectious disease-causing organism will actually change back into a healthy, harmless organism that's supposed to be on our human body, that's supposed to be helping us. It's really important people understand. Again, we just don't understand what sickness and disease is, and we need to understand it so we don't fear it. We don't do all the ridiculous medical treatments that are out there, and we actually use the restorative healing power of God that he gave us on this earth through nutrition and through herbs to restore human function.
Yeah.
Cool?
Yeah, so you have to put the right things in and create the right environment, you know, to have the right type of microbes in the body. Otherwise, you're going to have the bad ones. So again, those microbes are feeding off of our waste, our diseased tissue, our acidity, our congestion. So again, getting to the root. Everybody wants to kill the stuff, but remove the congestion, and sure, remove some of the bad stuff too. But people do have larger parasites, worms, and those need to come out, but they're there. They got there for a reason. You might have been eating a bunch of meat, and it's in there to help take care of the meat, you know? So again, clean the environment.
Yeah. That for?
Yeah.
Cool. Go ahead.
So we're going to get into some of the formulas, some of the basic formulas that we would recommend and that Dr. Morse has.
Along
the basics.
with the diet.
Along with the diet. Like we said, the diet's the foundation. But so we have something we call the Fab Four, and it's the four main products, the four main herbal formulas that we would use.
A good place to start.
A good place to start, yeah. So this is hitting some of those main systems that we talked about with the stomach and the bowels. So a formula to help to regulate bowel function if you're not going enough, but also to cleanse that congestion in there and restore the healthy tissue in the bowels. So stomach and bowels, we have a kidney formula to work on those kidneys. A lot of times it's helpful to have more than one kidney formula with somebody because the kidneys are in such a mess. People are not able to eliminate their lymphatic waste. But so kidneys would be another thing. Endocrine glands. We didn't go too much into it, but the endocrine glands, some people even call like the master computer of the body because they send all these neurotransmitters, steroids, hormones, and these are the things that are causing big change in the body. For mineral utilization, all the stuff that happens with these hormones and secretions from the endocrine glands, it's powerful. And if those are out of whack, people are a mess. So those are super important. So endocrine glands, and then the lymphatic system would be the fourth. Again, the sewer system of the body, we got to work on the elimination. So the lymphatic system, the kidneys, the stomach and the bowels, and then the endocrine glands because of how much they control. So that's a great starting place for a lot of people.
Along with the diet.
Along with the diet, absolutely.
Right. Because it's very important for people to understand. We live in this, I don't understand sickness and disease, and doctors say there's nothing I can do, and I'm going to be on this drug the rest of my life, and well, it's inconvenient to not feel good, and so just give me the pill. And that's why the medical system is so popular, because the pill covers up the symptom, makes the headache go away or makes the reflux go away, all to the detriment of the human being. You'll never heal using drugs because they're man-made, not God-made. And so that system doesn't work for those reasons. And so we need to use these baseline formulas to start to open up the basic cleansing and healing of the body, the kidneys, the lymph, balancing your hormones. Like Mike said, it's the supercomputer. It's what kind of makes everything function and work in the body and get the stomach and bowels flowing properly. So you got to do the diet. You can't do the herbs and still eat a bad diet and expect magical results. Again, that's the quick fix, easy pill. We're still looking for a cure for cancer. I mean, come on, people. Like, there is so many cures for cancer. It's ridiculous. And we're still doing all the wrong things because the medical system's cure for cancer is what makes them trillions of dollars while people continue to perish. Where God's system costs way, way less, and you get free and you actually heal and reverse your cancer. So there's no magic pill, and there's never going to be a man-made pharmaceutical cure for cancer. So we need to stop pumping trillions of dollars into that demonic system and really get back to the real truth and back to God and back to healing. And so people need to understand that there's not a quick fix. It's the diet along with the herbs that start to cleanse, heal, purge, and restore the body. And if you just do the diet, that's great. But I've learned I've done fasting, cleansing, I've done 40-day juice fast, 40-day water fast, crying out to the Lord because I'm not where I know I need to be with my health and still struggling with different things. And just the fasting enough wasn't enough. And so I really have learned, and the Lord showed me that, man, we need the herbs. We need the leaves of the tree that will be for our healing. Like, these are the things God gave us to purify and cleanse the human body. And so if you combine these two things together, things start to shift and change in your body. So it's a good place to start. Yep.
Yeah, but detoxification is the golden key to reversing and unlocking health, removing those obstructions, and again, hitting all of the detox pathways. So that's like core foundation. We would want to hit other things with people that have more serious things going on or that want to really go for it. But that's the starting place.
Just double check. Okay. So do you endocrine?
Endocrine?
You can get into it deeper than I. Let me give a general overview. You probably can go deeper. But endocrine, master controls, you know, in your brain. You got really important ones that we don't know anything about, but they're crucially important. We won't go into detail over them, but we have different guides, and we gave you guys a little basic functions of the endocrine system here. But in your brain, you got this pineal, the pituitary, the hypothalamus. So crucial for sleep function. In the pituitary, you know, growth hormone, all these pregnancy hormones for women, the luteinizing hormone, the follicle stimulating hormone, the oxytocin, you know, all this crucial stuff for pregnancy. We have all these fertility issues. And so, like, these endocrine organs up here are super crucial, and it's gummed up. It's gummed up with mucus and congestion. Our heads are really just congested, and you can see it through the iridology. You can see it through the eyes in the iridology. You can see the whole top part of the eye, you know, completely congested. And so we're learning how to cleanse that stuff out so that those glands can start to work better, because they're the master switches that control everything. And then you got the adrenal glands. Oh my gosh, like adrenal glands. All I might get into detail about that, but like, you can't function as a human being without adrenal function. I mean, you talk about stress, anxiety, fear, worry, fatigue, you know, blood sugar balance, mineral absorption. I mean, blah, blah, blah. You can go on forever. It's just mind-boggling what the adrenals do. And the medical system barely talks about it, you know, unless you're in complete failure and you've been diagnosed with Cushing's or Addison's, and, you know, they might remove one if it has a tumor, but it's disastrous to not have good adrenal function. And then the thyroid. Thyroid's huge for metabolism and energy, and for body temperature control. You know, body temperature jumps too low, and you're susceptible to sickness and disease, because your body temperature has to maintain a certain level. The pancreas is an endocrine organ. So these organs are crucial, and they really do control everything. And that's why we recommend like some general endocrine stuff, like the endocrine balance formula that you start with, but maybe even some more tailored stuff. You know, you can maybe get into a little bit more, but some more tailored stuff to specific needs or specific endocrine organs.
Yeah, because they're all important and they're all vital, and we have a little information on each of on here. It's brief, but yeah, they do so much. So starting with the formula that's going to hit kind of all of them and bring balance. You know, the herbs that are going to nourish and bring balance between those systems is important. But yeah. Adrenals are definitely one that we talk about a lot. I mean, they're small little guys, but they sit on top of the kidneys. And guess, you know, we talked about the kidneys and how important that is for elimination and lymph drainage. So in some ways, they help control the kidneys in some ways. They directly influence the kidneys. And so usually I find when one's weak, the other's weak. And so supporting both is important. And another thing we don't have on here, because the adrenals, it talks about sugar metabolism, autonomic nervous system. It has different neurotransmitters that it releases, and things related to anxiety, fear, worry. If you struggle with that a lot, that's usually adrenal weakness. Mineral utilization. But one thing that's not on here is steroid production. And so I want to talk about that, because you have inflammation in your body. There's ways that God designed us to function, to be able to handle inflammation. But we're not supposed to be in chronic inflammation all the time, and that's what people are in today. And people that have taken steroids for skin breakouts or whatever, anytime you take a steroid or a hormone that your body is supposed to produce, it's going to suppress your own body's production, because the body's smart. It says, oh, there's plenty of that. I don't need to make it anymore. And so we have a society today of people are going way too hard, not resting enough. They're taxing their adrenals. They're taking stimulants, chugging coffee, energy drinks, all that all the time. They're on steroids that have already suppressed their adrenal function. And so their adrenals aren't able to put out little bits of inflammation like they're supposed to and buffer that inflammation. So that's another important thing. But adrenals are powerful. They're the power punch to our energy. Again, they sit on top of the kidneys and control that. So these are huge, and a lot of people, it's great to start with the formula that kind of hits them all and helps bring balance, but a lot of people need a little extra in some of these specific areas. Yeah. And that's where we can get more detailed about that with each person.
And I'm going to highlight, you know, we really have a heart for children, and it just really is heartbreaking to see these children with these skin conditions and eczema and psoriasis, and they're just loading these kids up with steroids, and kids with asthma, they're giving them the inhalers, and they're using steroid creams, and they're using painkillers, and horrible idea for how to help the human body. And it's really sad because these kids are already compromised and they have a health condition. Parents don't know this stuff. They trust the doctor, who is unfortunately a product of his education, which isn't good when it comes to understanding how to heal the human body. And so these kids are suffering, and they're getting worse and worse and sicker, and they're innocent. They're innocent victims. They really are. It's really sad. I just really hate seeing that, but it ties into this endocrine function, because clearly their adrenals are weak, pituitaries are weak, they're not thriving, they're not growing, the thyroid's off, and these children are struggling, and the medical system's making it worse for their lack of understanding of the human body and how to help heal the human body. And so we really got to work on the kids' endocrine systems. Any adult who's going through a healing program, I really want to stress this, if you get onto a healing diet, I share this with people because it's crucial, because we don't understand it, because we are go. Like Mike said, we're drinking coffee during the day. We're so exhausted by the end of the day that we can't even function because we're on false stimulants. We're riding up and down all the time, and your body can't get into a healing state. And so if you go eliminate coffee, let's say, and go into a healing diet, guess what? You're going to be tired. And you know what? You're supposed to be. You're supposed to rest. You're supposed to heal. You're supposed to honor your body, and you're supposed to allow yourself to go into a healing state. But we can't. We're so busy. We're so a million miles an hour. We still got to work every day. Like my wife, we got 3 kids. She's like, rest, I don't know what that means. And so it's really challenging to heal. But you have to at least support your adrenals, your thyroid, as you go into that healing process. Allow time to heal, and just again, let God do what he designed the body to do, and rest will allow people to heal. And I always share that, because what happens is people get on these healing programs and they're super tired right away, and they're like, well, this isn't working. I'm tired. No, it's working. You're supposed to be in a state of rest. And so we just have to honor the body, understand what it takes to actually heal, and try to work that into our lives so that we can, actually allow the restoration to happen. So.
It's good.
Yeah. So I think this might be a good part to buzz through this real quick.
Yeah.
Is that all right? So we have this little handout. We're going to tweak
started.
it a little bit. Yeah, we're going to tweak it a little bit, but I just want to run through what it takes to be successful on a healing program, because I think this is really important to understand this. And I'm just going to buzz through these real quick. Number 1 is diet. So it'll be quick because we've already talked a lot about this. Diet's key to success. Again, the problem is people are taking drugs to mask the symptoms and pretend like everything's okay. People want to take even natural supplements and hope everything's okay. We don't want to do the diet part because that's the hard part, right? And trust me, I've been on the journey of every single struggle, food addiction, fasting on and off, doing things right and wrong all the time. So it's we got to be on the journey towards a healing diet. So diet's crucial for somebody to get well. Number 2 is finding somebody who's good at iridology. Why? Because you need to have a good place to start. I'll just give you an easy example. I can look at a blue eye and see a lot of white and lymph congestion and be like, man, you need to go after kidneys and lymph, kidneys and lymph, kidneys and lymph. And I can look at the next blue eye, and it's like I talked about earlier, that chronic brown stagnant colon and lymph surrounding the intestinal area, and I'm like, you need to go after your colon, your colon, your colon first. I'm not saying they don't need to work on kidneys and lymph, or maybe they do some of it together, but you're really going to have to focus more on that colon first, and wait maybe a little bit on going after the kidneys and lymph, whereas somebody who doesn't have that toxic bowel might not have to stress so much about the bowels, but really work on the kidneys and lymph and getting that lymph moving and getting that acid waste eliminated. So I just want to give you that as one example.
Yeah.
We talk about the radial solari or the radial furrows, which I love Dr. Morse's term on it. He called them toxic tunnels. And I have toxic tunnels. And it's where your transverse colon has damage to it and it's quote unquote leaky gut. But instead of your waste being eliminated, the waste spills into the lymphatic system and your sewer system gets clogged up. And your body stops working right. you know, and people are struggling with that. Again, the food allergies, the food sensitivities, the chronic health issues, the inflammation, you know, a lot of that can stem from these kind of problems going on, and you can see that through iridology.
Yeah. Just real quick on iridology, because I know we do it a lot here. We're all familiar with that, but if somebody's watching this, so iridology is the science and the study of the iris of the eye, the colored part of the eye, and how that relates to your genetics, what's been handed down to you. And, you know, we're a product of, I think I've heard different people say, but that currently the genetics we have and thoughts and emotions get passed down, thought patterns, but 6 to up to 15 generations. And you think of how many people that is that are influencing what's going on in our body. And we're not subject necessarily to, you know, just because you have a genetic weakness doesn't mean that you have to be that way, you know. But what's great about iridology is it sees the genetic weaknesses, but it also sees current conditions and accumulations and congestion. So it's the two together. But we can see those things before that anything ever manifests and address that ahead of time, but also see areas right away that this is congested, this is weak, this is going on, and we can address that. So it's the only soft tissue analysis, is the way I've heard it termed, going on right now. You can do a blood test, you can do that, but it's little snapshots of little pieces. And so iridology is so great because we can see such a huge picture of what's going on in the body and really personalize something for what's going on with somebody.
Amen. Thank you. So number 1 was diet. It's key to everything. Number 2 is iridology, a great way to know where to start. Number 3, almost 100% of people have glandular weakness. Repeat, 100% of people have glandular weakness.
Yeah. It's impossible not to in today's world.
Everybody should be on like an endocrine balance type of a formula, but then what do you need specifically?
Yeah.
Do you need thyroid support, parathyroid support, because that's tied to connective tissue weakness and prolapses and all kinds of things people are struggling with, adrenal weakness, pituitary because there's a failure to thrive or there's a growth issue. So, you know, 100% of people have glandular weakness, and I would say, like, I'm totally making this up, but I don't know the number, but I'd say 80 to 90% of people have adrenal fatigue.
Yeah.
You know, it's like chronic. And again, it's our culture, it's our lifestyles, it's the coffee, it's the sugar, it's the stimulants, it's the constant up and down, and we can't find the steady balance because of our lifestyles partially, because of our diet partially, and because of our, you know, again, our need to live in this stimulated state. Glandular weakness, number 3. Number 4, always move your lymphatic system. Okay? So there's all kinds of important things you can do for the lymph. We're not going to get into it maybe in detail on this video, but you know, rebounding, exercising, sweating, getting in a sauna. Obviously the diet's a huge portion of that.
Yeah.
Doing those grapes and those lemons and those astringents that squeeze the lymph. Even if you want to get into dry fasting, that's a way to really get deep into squeezing that lymphatic system. The dry skin brushing.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a lymph cleanse. You know, we have a 21-day lymph cleanse. It's great. People have tons and tons of success stories from doing our lymph cleanse. But we incorporate all these things together. Okay, and you know, I'll just mention that now. I kind of alluded to it earlier, but you have to combine these things together to heal the body and to have amazing divine health. You can't just have one piece of the puzzle. You can't be just like, oh, I heard about dry skin brushing. You're doing dry skin brushing. That's cool. You're doing nothing else. Like, don't expect a miracle, right? Like, dry skin brushing is cool, but you might not like reverse your multiple sclerosis or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like dry skin brushing. So anyway, do these things together. That's why we're mentioning, like, this is getting started. This is what it takes to be successful. Why don't you go ahead? Number 5 is where we're at.
Number 5, it's a good suggestion to spend a month on an herbal parasite formula, you know, because there are bigger parasites that people have, and it's not anything to freak out about, but take some, you know, get the right stuff going on in the body, start cleansing things out, get on some herbal parasite formulas that will help to kill off any of the big stuff that, you know, the bad stuff that's in there, but really it's about changing the environment. But that is important. 6, cleanse your liver and pancreas and enhance the pancreas. So the liver just does so much. I mean, my gosh, but it processes so many things. They said, like, I forget how big, but it would take a huge factory, like several thousand square feet, to do all of the functions that our liver does. So it's important to support that too. And the pancreas. The pancreas is important for digestive enzymes, for insulin, for, you know, so it's an exocrine and an endocrine gland.
Yep.
Number 7, this just mentions medications and how a lot of people freak out. We get this all the time with people in our store, and they take an herbal thing and they want to know, is this going to have any contraindication with what I'm taking? And we always have to explain to them that herbs have intelligence, and it's different than a pharmaceutical drug. We've created these pharmaceutical drugs. They're coal tar based, and they make specific things happen, whether your body wants to or not. It's forcing something to happen. And herbs are different. They have the intelligence of God who created them in there, and they're gonna help to bring balance. So it's very, very rare that there's any indications. People can feel pretty safe taking an herbal formula with anything. There's a couple of situations that you might need to have a little bit of help with, along with diabetes and high blood pressure and stuff like that. But most of the time, there's not any indications. You might need to watch your blood sugars as things are being cleansed. But
and I will mention with the medications, Mike mentioned it, but there's definitely a lot that you got to be cautious with. And obviously we're in no place to tell people not to take their medication or whatever. I mean, ideally you find a doctor that's open-minded and actually somewhat believes the body can heal and you don't have to be on drugs the rest of your life. I mean, a lot of doctors are trained to believe that, but some will actually help people get off their medications. And so if you're a diabetic or whatever, you can get off those meds, but you need somebody to help you work through that, because you don't just quit cold turkey. Antidepressants, you'd never quit cold turkey.
Yeah.
I mean, you could send somebody into suicidal thoughts, severe depression. I mean, this is serious stuff. Those drugs are doing something, And so you gotta exercise caution and work with somebody who knows what they're doing. Ideally, have a medical doctor you're working with, because you got that prescription from a medical doctor. So ideally, you could find somebody, or he'd be willing to work with you, be like, hey, I'm gonna change my diet and I'm gonna do some things that I think is gonna help me. Will you help me work off of this? Because you just have to be cautious. Steroids, you gotta be super cautious.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a kid who's got ulcerative colitis and he's on steroids, and you stop him cold turkey, it could cause a flare-up, throws him into emergency room. We're talking trauma, life-threatening. So we're not taking this lightly. You got to be really careful about what you're doing, because people are in bad shape. A lot of people are in really chronic situations, and you've got to be smart related to these medications. But the cool thing about herbs, like Mike said, God designed you. God designed the plants. The plants know what to do to heal and restore the body. God didn't design big pharma drugs. They're coal tar based, and they force action on the body, whether you like it or not. It's a forced action on the body. There's no intelligence to it. It's a forced molecular action. And because there's no intelligence to pharmaceutical drugs, they're going to do what they do no matter if you like it or not. And so that's why you have to exercise caution in working off of them. And you also have to be careful about relying on those, because they're never going to bring about healing. They never bring about health.
Yeah.
So,
but people always hear, don't mix these drugs because they could have indications, because one thing's forcing this and then this one's forcing that. And but you can take, and we have some people take several herbal formulas, and they all work together. They work together like a team, because God created them, and they bring balance. And they're not going to force something crazy to happen. They're working together to bring balance.
Yeah.
So 9 is understanding the cleansing process and the we'll call healing reactions. Yeah.
Healing opportunities.
Healing opportunities, yeah, that the body can go through. So sometimes as you're cleansing, things can happen, and sometimes they might be uncomfortable, or there's things that happen. You could get a fever, you could have a cold and flu-like symptom, you could have mucus coming out, but this is all the body trying to heal itself. And these are healing opportunities, and understanding why that's happening and how to assist the body to do it, because what the medical industry and a lot of people want to do is they want to suppress that, and that's not the route to healing, because if you suppress it, it's just going to make it worse. It's going to keep building up, causing more issues, and making more chronic and degenerative issues. We want to help purge that stuff out. So again, working with somebody that can walk you through what's going on with the body and how to walk through that.
Yeah, and I want to mention in that, because I mentioned earlier this process of acidosis and sickness and disease in the body linked to cholesterol, linked to calcium deposits, but I actually missed the most important one. And what's the biggest number one thing talked about in sickness and disease and in health related to sickness? Inflammation. Do you not hear that word everywhere, all day, every day? Okay, what's inflammation? It's a natural response of the body trying to deal with acidosis. And we're just taking painkillers. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. And so it just shows, how far we are from our understanding of the human body. But I just wanted to mention that like the healing crisis that happens is the disease process is set in of acidosis. You got the inflammation, the calcification, the high cholesterol. The reversal of that has symptoms of its own. It's the body trying to alkalize. It's the body trying to cleanse and purge. It's the mucus coming out. It's the cold flu symptoms. It's the headaches. It's the things we don't like, but they're also part of the eliminative or the healing process that people need to understand that these things might happen.
Yeah.
Now you can minimize that by reducing the herbs you're taking, by reducing the amount of raw foods you're eating and eating more cooked foods and slow the process. You can do enemas, which removes a large amount of waste quickly, which will help alleviate some of those detox symptoms.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things you can do to kind
sweating.
of sweating,
opening up the skin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a lot of things you can do to kind of minimize that intense detox process. And then the last one, number 10, is attitude. And this is huge. A lot of times when we're sick, we're sad, we don't understand, we're wondering where God is, we're depressed, we're confused, we don't have any answers to our issues. It can be really, 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 really tough. And so we're just really encouraging people to just have a positive attitude and to have confidence and have faith. That's what we're supposed to do, right? Have confidence and faith that God can and will heal us. A big issue is we don't know how to do that. We don't really understand the process of healing and what it takes to heal the body. So we really got to work on positive. It's easier said than done. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Especially when you're sick or your kids. I see these moms that have these 1-2-year-old kids that are super sick, going to the doctor on steroids. I mean, they're scared for their child's life. It's hard to have just this super happy, positive attitude, but it really is important to learn the truth and believe in a system, believe in a program, which again, I just think is God's system, God's healing program, if we can actually learn what that is and have faith in that system and be positive about it and bring healing.
Yeah.
So you want to add?
But understand, God really has our best interest in mind, and He wants us to be well, but we have to learn how to partner with Him in everything. And attitude is important, and the body can do amazing things. God is powerful, and He designed our bodies in a powerful way. If we partner with Him and we purify ourselves, the body is capable of so much amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And it's funny. There's a phrase that I learned from a guy that I did some training through, and he said, "Good health is your choice." And I believe that to be a lot true, that we need to take back our power and understand and take responsibility for what we're doing. There's responsibility in everything, every thought you have, everything you put in your body, thing you drink. We're the ones in control, and we can change that, and we can change the way we think and what we put in our body, and you could break those habits, and just having a good attitude and knowing that man, we're partnering with God and we're going in a good direction. And we've seen amazing things, and through training with other people, seen the fantastic stories of people being cleansed and healed, and it's amazing.
And I just want to add to that, one of my biggest struggles, and I guarantee you everybody's struggle here, and people we're talking to on a video, is it's this right here. What's this?
Flesh.
Our flesh, right? I mean, that's a reality. We've been trained to believe it's okay to eat junk or processed food, okay to do what the rest of the culture and rest of people are doing. And what the average culture is doing is sickness, disease, and premature death. And so what I believe, what's a really important part of this attitude piece is that why are you doing this? I tell people in consultations all the time, I just ask them, what's your motivation? And I hear a lot of cool things. Sometimes the motivation is obvious, I just don't want to be in pain anymore. Okay, I get that. But sometimes the motivation is, I'm 65 and I just had my first grandkid. and I want to be around for that grandkid. That's awesome, you know? And so I like to hear real motivation of why people are doing it. But I think the best motivation is like if you can get your eyes on God and you can get your eyes off of this, because this leads to death and destruction, right? I mean, the wages of sin is death. You know, we know what Paul talks about in Romans about, you know, if our minds are set on things of the flesh and versus our minds be on things of the spirit. And so we are addicted to things. We are struggling with food and addictions and our taste buds, and our kids are addicted to foods. And trust me, like the Lord didn't choose me to talk about this because like I lived this perfect life of eating all the healthy foods. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing this because I've struggled with my own sickness and disease. I'm working on it with my family. I've struggled with every, you know, different kind of food addiction and going on and off of struggling with cravings and addictions. And this stuff is just so ingrained in us through our past and through our culture. And so I just really want to encourage people to, if you get your eyes off of yourself and you realize that I'm not just doing this to heal my own body, but I'm doing this so I can serve God well. I mean, what did Jesus say is that the 2 commandments that completely wiped out the whole law? Love God and love others. So how well can you love God and how well can you love and serve others if all we're focused on is what we like, what we want to eat, our cravings, our desires. We're so focused on our sickness and our disease that we can't help other people or do other things. I mean, this is a big deal, you know? And so I just really, like, I've had a total shift in what the Lord's done in my heart, you know, not just in my physical body, but what He's done in my heart and my mind to continue, it's still a work in progress, but to continue to get my mindset off of me and on the reality that He wants me to be a vessel that's surrendered and emptied of myself so that I can be a vessel for Christ and to serve the Lord and to serve others. And like, that's what I'm going for. You want to have impact on the world? Focus on that and not so much like on all these foods that you love to, and it's so hard to give up. And you know, I hear the funniest thing in consultations like, okay, I hear what you're saying, like this will get me better. When can I eat pizza again? Like I get the question. Yeah. Can I have ice cream again? Okay, I get it. You know, we're all in different places. But again, where's your heart? Like, what's your desire? Is your desire like that you can eat pizza and ice cream again? Or is your desire like fullness and understanding that there's a higher, you know, way of living and communing with God through health and through our bodies than just the things that we want and things that we like? So, just thought I'd share that.
Yeah. That's good.
Preach it! Preach!
You want me to talk a little bit about the emotional stuff?
Yeah, go, man. That's good. 20 minutes.
Okay, I'll try to go through this fairly quickly, but yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the emotional stuff and not that I'm the expert, but learning about it and really understanding that, yeah, we are body, soul, and spirit, and how do we partner all of that? And again, I was talking about, yeah, it's not only what we eat and what we drink and all of that, it does affect us, but it's our thoughts and our emotions and our beliefs. Yeah. So some things that I learned through some training that I had recently. So I'll just go through a few notes, but yeah, also in Florida, we learned some cool stuff there. But yeah, so think about this. So talk about the diet and how important that is and all the stuff that we're eating and drinking and putting in our body and how much of an effect that has. But more than you eat and drink, you think. And it's said that you have roughly 70,000 thoughts a day. Whoa. I don't know who counted that or how do you even quantify that? Who knows, but it's a lot. And so we have thoughts constantly all the time. And some of those are conditioned, and some of those are thought patterns that are actually passed down generationally. But we can choose the way we think too. We can focus our minds on certain things. So, but a cool thing is something called epigenetics. And epigenetics is basically, you know, we're born with certain genetics, certain DNA, but we can actually change and alter those. Our thoughts and emotions, they've proved scientifically that our thoughts and emotions change and alter our DNA. You can turn off and turn on certain gene mutations. And again, I'm not a scientist that understands this, but they've proven this stuff and studied it scientifically. And like I said, we're a product in our genetics and our, you know, emotional patterns and thought patterns of things generationally sometimes. And that's what's cool with holistic iridology is not only seeing the physical things in the eye, we can see thought and emotional patterns that are passed down generationally from other people. And sometimes we hear people talk about generational curses, and I kind of feel like that could almost fall into that. It's these thought patterns, these emotional patterns that have been passed down and we're still dealing with, but we can address those, we can change those. So the whole thing is we have the power, to change those. And another thing that, this isn't my wording, but yeah, the true nature of the healing process, and I believe this a lot, it starts on the spiritual level first, and then it enters the mental and emotional world, and then finally the physical. So it's basically said that if you don't feel well physically, there's been an emotion that came first, a thought that followed that, and a spiritual disconnect at the root of that. And us, again, getting back to partnering with God and bringing all of that into alignment with Him. And it's hard in today's world, but we can see some of that and address some of that through iridology, but then also just through, communing with the Lord. And there are people that help people through this process. We're learning more about how to do this, but being aware of the impact of our thoughts and our emotions, because we can control that and we can change that. This is an important thing to kind of wrap up, because again, I don't have all the answers to emotional healing and all that, but we need to be aware, and it's okay to feel. I think we a lot of times, there's obstructions in the body. We talk about physical obstructions. There's emotional obstructions, and they actually create physical things in the body too. Marcy talked about this. Yeah. And it's like, you have a lymphatic system and it stagnates. There could be a thought and emotion going on there that's blocking something from your healing process. And so these are things that we can address, and it's okay to feel. You're going to feel things. Our society is all about stuffing emotions and shoving them back down in there. It's the same thing with the healing response. We want to get that junk out and partner it with God. So we're learning how to do this, but it's okay to feel. Allow yourself. I think that's a big thing I've learned, and is allowing yourself to feel and to experience it, and then talk with God about it, and then eventually learn how to release that and get that obstruction out of there. And I've heard amazing stories about people healing just from doing that. But again, we want to partner it all. We really want to go for the fullness. So, but yeah, kind of to wrap up, we don't heal people, God does. And it's our communing with Him and partnering with Him, and to allow Him to purify us wholly on all levels. And it said it's our connection to God and our choice to choose life, wellness, love, following the guidelines of what we need to do spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically in communion with God that creates healing. So, that's important. I just wanted to bring awareness to the mental and emotional. And one guy I trained through, he talks about that being the root of everything. Of course, we always, and he does too, still go after the physical things, and we want to cleanse and we want to change the diet and all that. But if there's still bad thought and emotional patterns, that needs to be addressed too. And the Chinese and other cultures have talked about this for a long time. Different thoughts and emotions being tied to different organs, and the liver tied to anger and bitterness. And so you could go on and on. But yeah, there are physical things that will happen when you think and have certain emotions.
Yeah, and we've noticed that through the cleansing process, it starts to unlock and release a lot of that. I'll give you a couple examples. I like examples because it makes it real to people. But, you see women who have struggled with bulimia and anorexia, and we've learned that, if you have a woman and she shares that and she's honest, which is helpful if they're honest, you tell them if you go on a cleansing healing program, you could go back into, memories or emotions tied to that struggle that you had. Because a lot of times food became like the emotional crutch, or the thing that's actually inhibiting or blocking that emotion from coming back out. And so sometimes they go back into like a cleansing healing diet, and I'm like, if you're going to do this, have support. Make sure you have a husband or a group of friends or your parents or a counselor or somebody, and you tell them, I'm going to try to do this cleansing healing program. Help me, encourage me, help me walk through it, give me a place to cry or somebody to talk to, because you want to get healing from this stuff. You just don't want to keep it trapped inside. And I'll give the other example of, just because we've seen a lot of cool things, and we'll share a lot at the Children's Health Conference coming up, but with our daughters, they were born with congestion and different issues, and we notice their emotions can go up and down based on their diet. And, we keep it really clean. But, even when we go to some place we normally don't go to and we eat the quote unquote healthy cookie or whatever, if they just get a little bit too much sugar, honey, am I right? I mean, their emotions are like, wah! Like they just go wacko, And it's like, do parents not think the diet has anything to do with their children's health or emotional stability? And they're blaming it on the children of misbehaving and, doing all this stuff. And it's not the child's fault. It's really not the child's fault. It's the parents' fault. It's the culture's fault. It's the fault of our misunderstanding. And so we have seen our daughters, one of them in particular, go from being extremely emotional swings up and down all over the place to when we clean up diet, get them on a good herbal protocol, all of a sudden, boom, it's like, who is this little girl who is sharing everything and, hey, mommy, what can I help you with? And it's like, where did you come from? I love you. That's awesome. I mean, we love them anyway, of course.
Yeah,
but it's really cool when they come into this this better emotional and physical health, And again, you see the junk parents are feeding children. You are a detriment to your child's health, and that's hard for parents to believe or accept or understand. And so that's what we want to educate people, is that you don't want to do things that are detrimental to your child's physical health and emotional health. They deserve better. They deserve better. What our parents did and our grandparents did was wrong for the most part. I don't want to say everybody, but for the most part, we didn't understand that the foods we ate and the things we did were bad for us or hurt us or were going to hurt future generations. And so God has called us now to change and reverse and to heal and repair the breach and to restore life and health back to our children, back to our health, ourselves, even our grandparents if they're open to it. Some of them are. Some of them are ready to go. Man, I had a 93-year-old gal do the kidney cleanse and got off her high blood pressure medication. She's 93. It doesn't matter, people. Anybody can heal. Any age, 1 or 101. God designed the body to heal. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, and these emotions can come out during the healing process automatically, just as you're cleansing. But yeah, it's good to have good support, people you can talk to, an outlet.
Yeah.
But then also there sometimes, a lot of times, needs to be some intentional work with that too. And people can hit a wall and need to address certain things. And another thing I've heard is the most powerful healing thing there is love. And God is love.
Amen.
So how can we be, and Jesus talked about it, loving God, loving your neighbor. It's all about love. So what are our hindrances? And I think that's a takeaway for me too, is talking with the Lord and asking, what do I have that's hindering love? And a lot of people are harboring bitterness, worry, anger from past things or even generational things.
Yeah.
And how can we address that and go there? And it's okay, feel this. Sure, something might have been done to you that wasn't right, but we have to let that go and release it to God and forgive and love. And so a lot of people that have physical things, I seem to always see, and from other people that we've studied through, that talk about these emotional issues and there being a tie to certain wounds and bitterness and holding on to something and not letting it go. And the Lord's trying to purify us.
Amen.
So.
Amen. And I found, and I've seen other people talk about this, that when you cleanse and heal and remove sickness and disease from your body, you know what starts to happen? You start to be more happy, and you start to be more loving and more caring and more energetic and more full of life. Mm-hmm. And you know what happens when you're full of sickness and disease and all that? I mean, you just, it's hard to, you're overriding, you're trying to override the junk that you're feeling, and so, I've really experienced that when I eat clean and I eat well and when I'm fasting, a lot of times, I just really, the light goes on and I just feel like everything starts to work better. And, just confirmation I thought I'd share. And I shared this when I shared my testimony. I did my testimony at a church down in Florida a couple of weeks ago. We haven't released it yet. And I was pretty raw. I was pretty vulnerable with it. But I did a 40-day juice fast one time. It was when we first got married and Jen was first pregnant with Naomi. But I did a 40-day juice fast, and I was really contending and asking the Lord, the question that just came in my spirit was, what is the sin of sickness? And so I was asking that to the Lord. What is the sin of sickness? What is the sin of sickness? And I remember, it's hard to describe, but I felt this pressure come on me, and literally I felt like a weight come on me. And I can't describe it because it was in the spirit, but the weight on me was so heavy that it felt like it was crushing me. I literally felt like it was going to kill me. I felt like I was going to go through the floor. The weight was so heavy. And literally, like, I didn't understand what was happening. I'm praying against, like, casting out demons. Like, what do I got to do to, like, make this feeling go away? Because literally it felt like this crushing feeling on me. And I heard the Lord say, as plain as day, the sin of sickness is lack of love. And I felt like the Lord gave me a glimpse of what the Lord took on when he took on all sin, all sickness, all disease on himself to die for us. And I felt like I wanted to die, just feeling that weight of the sin of sickness. Yet the Lord took the weight of all of our sin for all of humanity. How do you think he felt? I mean, that was powerful. Like that was a life-changing, type of thing that the Lord did with me there. But again, I love all this stuff, and more than anything, we love the Lord, and we know that he's bringing us into just a new season. Like, we're just excited to see what the Lord's doing through all of this. And it is going to come down to love ultimately. What's that song that says, basically when it comes down to it, like, it's not about your ministry, it's not about your money. Did you learn to love? Like, that's what the Lord's going to be like. Did you learn to love? You guys know that song?
Yeah.
It's not about your ministry. So really, it's going to come down to love. And we're not loving well. And part of the reason we're not loving well is we're addicted to junk. We're full of sickness and disease. We don't feel good. We're grumpy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you love others when you feel that way? And so I really feel like, the spiritual part's crucial, the emotional part's crucial, but I feel like the physical part is crucial too. And it's what the Lord has highlighted to us a lot, is the reality of physical sickness in people, and that we need to work on that portion. It's part of the restoration of the temple. It's part of fullness, So, anyway, you got anything to add? Should we close off?
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
The only thing, I don't know if we want to get into just like herbs, tinctures, capsules, any of that. That's pretty good.
I think
we can stop there.
I was thinking about what we said in our meeting.
Yeah.
We've been living life man's way.
Yeah.
And blaming God for the results.
Yeah.
Now let's start living life God's way and giving him the glory for the results.
Right. So I just repeat that so we can hear it. She said, we've been living life man's way, which is true. The Bible's clearly said that we've gone the way of man. Okay? Right? And we're blaming God for it. We're upset at God because of sickness, of disease, of losing our loved ones to Alzheimer's and cancer, our children. It's heartbreaking, and we're blaming God for it because we don't understand. And so she said, it's time that we start living God's way and giving him the glory for the healing, because that's what's coming. And part of that coming is us growing in wisdom and knowledge and getting revelation from the Lord, and us sharing it with all of you so that you can be vessels of light, so you can be healed and restored. Hosea 4:6, our people are destroyed by lack of knowledge. It's so true. It's so true. And it's been the reality of this world for too long, and we're done with it. It's over. We're taking back the kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. I'm excited. So should we end there?
Yeah.
Praise
Amen.
God. Hallelujah. Love you guys. God bless you.